plan to end economic inequality.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those in favor say nay.
6 in favor, none opposed. The resolution is adopted.
I have never heard anybody say they didn't want a society that worked equally well for everybody. And it's about us ensuring that we actually have jobs at the same level that everybody else has in our community. Is there something wrong with that? That we actually compete and can compete in business, and that we actually have access to opportunity. Now, I was at the state the other day, and I know they're working on this, and I know my good friend Matt and the commissioner that's here and others are working on this. But the data at the state is shameful, right? $2.4 billion, very, very small trickle going to African Americans. I think it's something like $150,000, something like that in contracts. Now tell me something. 2.4 billion, 150,000. Does that sound right? Does that sound right? Do we need to do something about that? I know Matt's working on that, and I'm working with him on that. But the real deal is that we need to ensure that at every level of government, every level of the private sector, that we are able to compete and we are able to get, because what is this? This is about jobs and economic opportunity for our families, right? And so that's what we're talking about here, folks. This is what the African American Leadership Forum is all about. This is the time that we have together to do this work. How many of you are with us to do that work? How many of you are with us to do that work? So my grandfather once said, and Jeff's getting up, but my grandfather once said that a person of words and not of deeds is like a garden full of weeds, right? So we're gonna prove it tonight, right now, whether y'all are full of deeds or words or full of deeds. How many of you are full of deeds? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Don't be afraid. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Okay. All right. So, Sylvia, you want to take this last part, and then we'll get on.
So, you know, these two men, these two gentlemen, have gone completely off script. Now you see what I have to deal with on a daily basis.
Well, at least we're trainable.
No, they're not trainable. So what I have to say is, in addition to the good work that these two gentlemen are doing, I'm going to stand back because you're feedback. The African American Leadership Forum, we're also doing lots of work to eliminate disparities in education, to close that dreadful academic achievement gap, and also we're laser focused on addressing the mental, social, and emotional trauma of our community, particularly during these times. We are also recognize the importance, as Jeff and Gary have mentioned, of developing the next generation of our community leaders, and a generation of leaders who are very well equipped and ready to take the baton from our senior leaders such as Dr. Josie Johnson and Professor Mohammed El-Kati, and run full speed ahead to find a place where we no longer have to suffer these injustices and inequalities that we face today. And this fundraising event is all about raising money for the next generation of leaders. And I do want to give two examples of two leaders that we had last year that came through the Leadership Academy. We have our very own Mr. Abdul Wright from the Harvest Network of Schools, and he was a Now, before you clap for Mr. Wright was one of these bright teachers that Mr. Eric Mahmoud hired in the Harvest Network of Schools, and This year, 2016, he was awarded Minnesota Teacher of the Year.
All right.
And we are so proud of him because he does some excellent work and he's a great spokesperson for teachers. And then secondly, I want to call out Mr. Jamez Staples. I don't believe he's here today, but Jamez, he was awarded the Changemaker Award by the Minnesota Social Impact Center. He was recognized by Midwest Energy as one of 40/40 in energy, and he was nationally recognized by Green for All as one of 12 climate champions. Jamez's work, he's very passionate to ensure that African Americans are part of the emerging economy in a development of the green infrastructure, which includes solar, wind, energy efficiency, and other climate changes mitigating strategies. So that is just 2 examples of the 23 fellows that we had last year that are doing some incredible, impactful work and being recognized on a national basis. And so now, these 2 gentlemen are going to try and encourage you to spend some more of your money this evening so we can move towards our goal of 100,000 K to make sure that we can continue the good work and develop these next generations of the future next year.
All right. Do we have the thermometer? Okay, so Gary,
Yes?
I'm going to challenge you to a duel
Whoa.
at sunset.
Well, I just saw the play Hamilton, so
You
watch
did?
out.
Okay. We getting ready to do. Now here's the challenge. Okay? You got this half of the room. I got this half of the room. You get to go first. I'll follow you. You'll go back. We're going to do this in about 5 minutes. We got to raise this money. Do we have the? Oh, we got it up here. Okay.
All
So
right.
You up
I
to
got
the challenge?
I'm looking at this side of the room.
You got
And
your
I
wife
know
over
we
here.
We got it easy on this side.
Okay.
We're going to do it. How many are we going to do it on this side of the room? Are we going to do it? We are going to do it on this side of the room. I don't know, man. I don't know about your side of the room, man.
No, we gonna
I
get it
don't
done.
know, man.
I'm gonna tell you how.
I got your best friend Sharon Sells Belton in the back.
And but you got my wife too.
Oh, got your wife too. All right.
And I know she got my back.
All right,
So I'm
all
gonna
right.
let you throw down first. You got 30 seconds to get your money. Go ahead.
Okay, 30 seconds. Okay.
There you go.
Can we start off? Raise your hands if you got $1,000. Raise your hand. $1,000. Come on, 1.
We got one.
Come on. Got another one. 2. $1,000. Okay, raise your hand if you got $500. Come on, raise that hand.
3.
All right, wife, raise your hand. All right, all right, all right. All right, raise your hand if you got $250. $250. Come on, get that hand up, get that hand up. Okay, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. 455, 5. Can I get a 6? 250, 250, 250.
Over there.
All right. If you get 250, you get to go out to lunch with me.
He's got you.
Hey, I got 250, another 250 over there. 1, come on.
Gary, we want incentives.
Okay,
right?
okay. How about $100?
Incentives for giving.
$100. Woo! How many $100 we got there? Count them up.
All right, and we have.
We ain't done yet.
No, I'm not stopping you. We got credit card
$100.
swipers that are going, and we'll take your credit card payments.
$100. Okay.
All right, where?
Now we're gonna go to $50. Come on, get your hands up for $50. I know everybody's waiting for the $1. I know you're waiting for the $1. Okay, $50. Come on, $50. Get your hands up. Oh, that's looking pretty good. Okay, so here's the deal.
You through yet, Gary?
Here's the deal. Now, this money is going to go to helping people become leaders, the next generation of leaders. Do we need that? Yes. Do we need that? Yes. Okay, so how many of you raise your hand for $25? Raise your hand. All right, I'm done, Jeff. Go ahead.
Through? Okay, so you see, we got an easy task to beat what just happened there, right? Right? This half of the room. So here's how we're going to do. We're going to give you options. Okay. Now, $1,000 may sound like a lot of money, but if you can commit and you got envelopes on your table to $100 a month. That's $1,200 over the course of the year. So we're looking for immediate. If you can do a credit card swipe, if you can write a check, more power to you. But I'm going to get this started like this here. $1,000 or more, because we got some folks in here can do more than $1,000. Let me loose here, Sylvia. Hold on.
Oh, boy.
Okay. How many got $1,000 or more? And I'm not going to ask anybody to do something that I wouldn't do myself, so I'm going to start it out.
I'm going to be second.
Huh?
I'm second.
We got a second right here, and we got folks.
Raise your hand when I was
I'm
up
going to
here.
start again.
Okay.
That's terrible.
Josie Johnson, we got 3, we got 4, another $1,000 or more. We got, come on, y'all. You can get, if your company has a match, you can do $500 and get a match. Okay, Medtronic, 3M, Target. Who's with me? I got anybody else? At 1,000? No? Huh? Use the mic, can't hear me. Okay, so
That was a plan.
either $1,000 you can give or 100. Who can do $100 a month for a year? Raise your hands. Anybody? Okay, so let's drop it down. So how many thousands did we get? 3? How many? Okay. We got another 1,000 here. That's 4. Okay. Do we have any more that can do $1,000? Okay, we got another one over here. 5? No. The brother said, no. not me.
Ouch. Ouch.
I wasn't raising my hand for that. Okay, so now we're going to go down to $500. How many can do $500 either in a lump sum? We have 1 here. We have 2 here. We got 3 back there. We got, is that 4? 5? Who else can do? Oh, this room over here is kind of silent. Come on, give me some help. Anybody? Now I know. Oh, we got 1 back there. That's, what's that? 6. All right. Anybody else? So you folks that are with corporations, you can get a match. Okay, if you can do $500, that's essentially $1,000. Okay, so how many we get? 6 for $500? Okay. Oh, we got another one. 7. Jackie, you ain't getting paid that much. She works for our organization, right?
Move it on now. We're going to have to move it on.
Okay. Hurrying us on. I'm just teasing.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay. All right. How many we got for $250? $250. Okay, great. 1, 2, 3, 4. $250. 5 in the back. 6 over there. Who else? Okay. Anybody else? $250. And this can be done at one time or it can be done over a period of time. Now we're down to $100. Now I know everybody in here can do $100 either today or over the course of the year. So on here, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the back. We got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Any more for $100? And then any other amount you want to give, you got an envelope on your table. I want to thank all of you tonight. How did we do, Osama? What's our number? Where did we get to? Thermostat stopped working? Okay, so we'll bring the thermometer up a little bit later.
All right, let's finish up.
All right, so we're just going to finish up here our little part. I would be remiss if I don't thank our board members. Can all of the African American Leadership Forum board members stand up, please?
African American Leadership Forum board members.
In particular, I want to welcome our newly incoming board members, Stella Whitney West, John Taylor, Ravi Norman, Carolyn Smallwood, Billy Chavez Russell from Friendship Academy, and Alex Tittle. Welcome to the board. We've got lots of work to do this year, so we're looking forward to working with you. So, I think I would like all of you guys to do one thing for me. And this is something I got from my fearless friend here, Gary. Can you please stand up, everybody? Please stand up. Can you look at your neighbor, give them a hug, and tell them you love them and there's nothing they can do about it?
steal that from me.
I did, yeah. Now they're leaving.
Okay, I'm gonna stay on script.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, okay, go off you go. So just thank Jeff and then I'll do this.
I'm here.
Yeah, start talking because I think they think it's over.
Okay, that's enough of that love stuff now. Woo. Okay, are we gonna be able to get control?
Yeah, we will. Start talking, I'll listen.
All right.
So they're leaving, Gary.
Okay, on behalf of the board, I'd like to thank Mr. Jeff Hassan. Could you give it up for Jeff Hassan in the back there? Give it up for Jeff. Jeff has taken this organization to new heights. He has made a difference. He is not only someone that we can depend on, he's a person of integrity. Jeff has achieved many things during his tenure as the executive director, and most important achievement is that he has been able to build strong relationships. I'd also like to give it up for Miss Jackie Cooper. Could you give it up for Jackie Cooper? And Azuma Asambi. Azuma, where are you at? These are our team that actually put together many of the things that we do at AALF, and I just want to say I am so proud and I'm so pleased as a community that we can do this work together.
So before we depart, we do have a keynote speaker, but I just want to address to the question of where do we go from here, and just want to really summarize what the African American Leadership Forum will be focusing on this year. So with your support, we plan to focus on collaborating with our community partners to execute on the 5-point economic plan, to continue to develop the next generation of leaders so we can drive change and create a just and healthy society that works well for everybody. And then lastly, we want to work hand in hand with our elected officials and law enforcement to put policies and procedures in place to address the pressing criminal justice reform required in our community. So that said, I want to thank you all for coming here tonight and for giving so generously. And before we do close, we do have a keynote speaker. She is Professor Duchess Harris from Macalester College, and I invite her to join us on the stage.
Give it up for Duchess Harris.
She's the co-author of Black Lives Matter, and she's going to be telling us some very impressive things this evening. So welcome.
Dr. Harris. Woo! Give it up for Duchess. You gotta take all of that.
Is that mine too?
Do I have slides?
I assume you do.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you so much for having me here this evening. This is quite a privilege, and I take this charge very seriously to address where do we go from here. I'm here this evening to talk to you about teaching in the age of Black Lives Matter. For those of you all who don't know me, this is my home away from home. I'm a faculty member at Macalester College. I'm the chair of the American Studies Department. What I'd like to do is talk to you about what it means to have this position. A lot of people ask me, do you like the research? Do you like the teaching? Do you like your administrative role? I would argue one thing that I actually enjoy is sabbatical. Okay? And so I'd like to tell you a story about how I was on sabbatical from 2013 to 2014, and for anyone who's had this time away, you have this anxiety about the re-entry and the return. And so around August 1st, you start thinking, I have to go back. And so a week after that, Michael Brown is killed, and I'm put in the position of being in charge of teaching both Introduction to African American Studies and Race in the Law. And so 3 weeks later, I go into the classroom. None of my students have a background in teaching or talking about race from high school. So this is a problem, and I want you to keep that slide there for a minute here. And so what I did was get through the semester the absolute best that I could, and I felt like we ended on a positive note, and we all went back for winter break. As I approached spring semester, I said, there needs to be a way that we can get better at this. I was fortunate enough, and you can move the slides here, that in April, Abdo Publishing, which is a publishing company here in Edina, Minnesota, approached me to be something called a content consultant for a book that was being written by a journalist from Florissant, Missouri, about Black Lives Matter. So originally, they just wanted me to edit her work. I took this on so much so, and I reworked it so much so, that I ended up becoming the co-author of the book. And so I ended up approaching my friend Congressman Keith Ellison, asked him to write the introduction, and then last August I was invited on TPT Almanac with both of the mayors. They were talking about their budgets, and then they invited me to talk about my new forthcoming book, Black Lives Matter. Now, what could possibly go wrong? Nothing, right? This is going to be a piece of cake. Actually, this is what happens. So, I'm on TPT on a Friday night, and by early Sunday morning, the conservative pundit Larry Elder on Fox News ends up talking about this new textbook, which is aimed at 6th graders, that is going to indoctrinate children to believe that blacks are victims and whites should feel guilty about it. So this is what my life starts to look like. So, what is wrong with that story? First of all, fact, no one has read the book. We had not even gone to the galleys yet, okay? Fact, it is August 2015. The book is supposed to come out January 2016. They rushed it, so it eventually came out in October. So, here's the truth. The purpose of the book is not to indoctrinate white school children. I just thought I might say that. What we're trying to do is that there are some leaders in educational studies who ask this question: how can we have a curriculum that centers the belief that Black Lives Matter would be in 6th through 12th grade? What would that look like? I argue that it ends up looking like this, which is my book. Okay, now some background on, what kind of series this is. So Abdo puts together these bundles of books that they sell to libraries. This is within special reports. And so one of the reports is on the Ebola virus. One of the reports is on the controversy around vaccines. This is about Black Lives Matter. So how do I frame it? And very briefly, I know we've been here a long time, we set it up chronologically, teaching Reconstruction to Brown versus Board of Education. It's all framed through hope and despair. So the hope, of course, is emancipation, okay? And so we talk about the fact that clearly there's freedom. The concern, however, that we outline is after 246 years of slavery, then you have 58 years of legal segregation. And most people do not know that. We then move on to teaching the civil rights movement up until the Clinton administration. Once again, hope and despair. So you have the hope of the Civil Rights Acts of the 60s, and then also, I don't just give the federal government credit, I talk about the resistance within black communities, the resistance of black feminism, black power, and the black arts movement. The despair, however, is something that I focus on, the first book that I wrote, which is the resistance that you get from the Reagan-Bush administrations. You have a somewhat moderate stance from the Clinton administration. And also, Obama has a very difficult time in his first administration in dealing with talking about issues of race because, of course, he's our first black president. And so then we move into Black Lives Matter in the age of Obama. And a lot of people notice that when you get to the second term of Obama, there is a shift where he really starts talking about and addressing race more so than he ever has. The research indicates that you can point to a particular moment. That particular moment is Trayvon Martin. And so what Obama does is he calls a press conference in the Rose Garden, and he says, if I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon. I think all of us have to do some soul searching to figure out, how does something like this happen? And that means we examine the laws and the context for what happened, as well as the specifics of the incident. So then, of course, social media is a pretty big deal. This meme starts going around of a young 12-year-old Trayvon Martin dressed like the president, photoshopped into his family, wearing the same outfit as the president. Now, of course, we are a very divided country right now, and so we get two responses. The conservatives say it's an absolute outrage, it's race baiting, and this is a terrible thing. Can we go back to the image, please? Can we go back to the image? The people on the left, however, say, wait a minute, it's important and it's clear that people should think about the fact that, you know, this can happen to any black family, this can happen to any young black boy in America. And so social media is in a frizzy once we get Zimmerman's acquittal. And so if we move forward here, I just wanted to share with you all that we know we're divided, but the data is important. So according to the Washington Post, 86% of black Americans are upset when George Zimmerman does not end up going to prison. Only 30% of white Americans feel the same way. Twitter becomes a space of protest, and there are 5 million tweets about the acquittal in one day. The majority is criticism. And so this brings us to Black Lives Matter going from a hashtag to a movement. And so it was exactly 3 years ago this week that you get 3 women, and I emphasize that they're women because the role that women have played in this movement and previous civil rights movements are significant and have to be acknowledged, come forward and talk about Zimmerman's acquittal. You can move the slide, and do the hashtag Black Lives Matter. And so these 3 women, yes. Patrisse Cullors, Alicia Garza, Opal Tometi, they found the Black Lives Matter movement. And so you can move forward. Thank you. What you do is you have all of this going on in cyberspace, but people often ask, you know, what is the moment where it goes from the hashtag to the movement? And everyone would know that it's this moment, I'm returning from sabbatical, right? It's the moment of Ferguson. So we can move forward here. And so Black Lives Matter becomes a space for peaceful protest, marches, demonstrations. Now, everyone in this room knows that many people are not happy about Black Lives Matter, okay? And that's all kinds of people. And so if you look at the data, the public resistance, slide please. The public resistance is that 55% of Americans believe that Black Lives Matter is actually distracting from real issues of racial discrimination. Now, what I want to do now is talk about how this is not very different from the civil rights movement. And so this did not come out in my introduction, but Black Lives Matter is my 3rd book. So I'm a scholar of the civil rights movement, and I'm here to let you know that we glorify the civil rights movement, and we talk about how wonderful it was. But 61% of Americans did not believe that the peaceful protesters during the civil rights movement had a point. In fact, 57% of Americans thought that people at lunch counters were harming the case for civil rights. So if we move forward here, the March on Washington, which is now something that we think of as being this wonderful thing, 60% of Americans were opposed to the March on Washington. Now, the racial divide in the 60s, Of course, 94% of black people thought that what Martin Luther King was doing was favorable. Only 36% of white Americans thought this at the time. Now think about now how we talk about Martin Luther King. And so the racial divide continues, and if you look at the public opinion polls today, only 25% of white Americans think that Black Lives Matter has any value whatsoever. Now, I've been working on this talk for a while. I was asked to do this talk months ago. Of course, I've had to do some updates. So we can move to the next slide. I would argue that public opinion in Minnesota began to shift last week. One thing that we can point to with this is when our governor came forward and made the very bold statement in saying that Philando Castile might not have been shot if he weren't black. This is a difficult moment in our country. This is a difficult moment in our state. And so I'm here tonight with a very difficult charge, which is to talk to you about what you can do. What I'm going to ask you to do this evening is to contact your public and private schools in your district that service students grades 6 through 12. I'm going to ask you to ask them to adopt this book. What will I do? I will visit any school that invites me to come to talk about this book. Why will I do this? Because Black Lives Matter. And just so you know, that's a picture of my family. That's my husband who finished the Twin Cities Marathon. And I want to say that you can simultaneously support the marathon and you can simultaneously support the people who were protesting at the marathon. Please think about using this book and helping our children and helping to develop leaders of the future. Thank you.
So my last duty this evening, and one that that I actually cherish, and again, Dr. Josies, thank you for saving me, is to recognize our second annual Community Service Award that's being given to Professor Mahmoud El Khati. Let's stand for him. Let's stand for him. Let's stand for him. Now, before he comes forward, a quick story. So I just heard from a good friend of mine that back in 1968 at St. Paul Central High School, this young man wearing a daishiki. Anybody remember what a daishiki looks like? Some of us, yes. With an afro with a flat top on it, came and made a presentation to St. Paul Central. And the brothers at the school said, "Who is this brother here?" Right? Does that sound familiar, Mike? Do you remember that? And then flash forward a few years after that, I'm a student at McAllister College, and Mark is a professor of African American history. And now he's a professor emeritus at McAllister College and actually has a scholarship established in his name here at McAllister College. So I'm walking across campus, and Mark says, Jeff, come here. Oh, what's going on, Mark? I got something I want you to see. And so, okay. And so he takes me into a film room. Anybody remember what an 8-track cassette tape looks like? Yeah, so we got some of those vintage in here. So he pulls out this 8-track cassette tape, and on it, it says St. Paul Public Library, right? This is 1973. I think it was St. Paul Public Library, 1966. It found its way into Mock's possession. And so he put this tape into the 8-track player and played for me the tape of the life history of Paul Robeson. How many of you in here know or heard of Paul Robeson? Paul Robeson is one of the most fantastic, amazing, outstanding Americans in the history of this country, whose history was totally taken out of all of our history books. I, at the age of 23 years old, walking across this McAllister campus, had never heard of Paul Robeson. That is a travesty. And what Professor Mahmoud has done for me, and raise your hands, those of you in the room who are under the tutelage or have been under the tutelage of Professor Mahmoud El-Kati, raise your hand. Raise your hand higher, Eric. Okay? He got one of the award-winning schools. Professor Mahmoud is one of his tutors, and he's tutored of many of us in this room. And I would like to publicly acknowledge the professor and the icon and loved one in our community, Professor Mahmoud El-Kati. Please come forward and accept the 2016 African American Community Service Award, recognizing your outstanding and dedicated work to our community. So is Mock's daughter here, Kamali? Kamali, yeah, hey Kamali. So Kamali told Mock the immortal famous words, Mock, or Dad, excuse me, remember the 5 B's. Mock said, what's the 5 B's, Kamali? He said, be brief, brother, be brief. Professor Mahmoud El-Kati.
I knew you wouldn't forget that. Thank you very much, Jeff. I just want to, and I'm not going to take a long time, say this, but I really want to, with some grace notes, and that's already been alluded to. Jeff knows this because I talked to him a lot about this. I've said that to other people. The Afro-American Leadership Forum is a train that some of us have been waiting on. You're the train, and you're all across the country. Something like this is happening all across the country. This means that, what I mean by that is that this generation, people in Jeffrey's age group and a little bit younger, are the greatest resources. We've never had this kind of resource. In the last analysis, you know, human beings are the only natural resource. It ain't gold, it ain't Cadillacs. It's human beings. That's the resource. We've never had it at this level before. This many people with well-trained minds. The black community have never had. We've always had well-trained minds. We've always had Du Bois, and we've always had people going to college and earning a PhD at 19 years old. But not that many. They were occasional. There are numbers of black people like this with well-trained minds who know how to think, who understand something about this country. The only thing that's holding us back is what they're doing, is organization. That's what A. Philip Randolph taught me. Organization is the fruit and flower of power. You're not going to do anything to move this country unless you organize. To the extent that black people changed this country, and we did, created a new democracy, and that's what it is. It's not Thomas Jefferson's democracy. It's not George Washington's democracy. It's the democracy of Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Fannie Lou Hamer, the Black Panthers, anybody, the NAACP. That's who created this space that you have now. It wasn't here. I'm a segregation-born baby, so I know that. This is a new democracy. Thomas Jefferson and those didn't create democracy for us. We were 3/5 of human beings. They were slave owners. You can scarcely call that democracy. After the Civil War, we enjoyed just a bit of freedom electing officials to state legislative, mayors in Natchez, Mississippi. Reconstruction lasted only 15 years, that's all. And we were back in slavery. That's what the book tells us, and written by a white scholar, slavery by another name. Sure. Sharecropping, tenant farming, convict lease system, vagrancy laws. We were re-enslaved up until World War II. And after the Civil Rights Movement, we were not a free people. Don't tell me segregation was free, because I lived it. I'm not having it. It's like, you half free, woman half pregnant. Nonsense. No, we weren't free. And we still are not free. Free people define their destiny all over the world. That's what free, when you define your destiny, it's your children. That's what our destiny is. So we're not free. And most black people don't agree with me when I call this, we're an unfree people. We're an unfreed nationality, not a race. We're a nation created over the last 14 generations. We're a nation, a multicolored nation arbitrarily called black. That's who we look. We look like everybody. But there's one experience growing out of slavery, which shapes our lives, our music, our thought, our philosophy, and so forth. They don't have colors. That's created by history and culture. That's very important for you to understand. So I want to thank you, sir, and the organization for this recognition. Two things from the wisdom of our great thinking, which is boundless. And one of them comes from a man we shared this earth with in recent history, is Martin Luther King, who said, this is what AALF is doing. He said, everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to have a PhD to serve. You don't have to know about Plato and Aristotle to serve. You don't have to know Einstein's theory of relativity to serve. You don't have to know the second theory in physics and thermodynamics to serve. All that you need is a heart filled with grace and a soul generated by love. And this is what you're doing, is service, and you're not paid for that with money. It's paid for, dignity is what we are fighting for. And lastly, I think the wisest man of the 19th century and the truest Democrat that ever lived was Frederick Douglass.
All right.
I think he's the greatest small d Democrat ever lived in this country. He was not only an abolitionist, he was a major male figure in the women's rights movement. And if Susan B. Anthony were here, she would tell you that. If Lucretia Mott were here, she would tell you that Frederick Douglass, in his newspaper heading, which lasts for 16 years, truth is of no color, right is of no sex. That was his masthead newspaper. He was in two movements. He was the greatest Democrat. I'm not talking about Democratic Party, that's foolishness, but I'm talking about an attitude and embracing humanity. He was in every movement which stood for human progress in the 19th century. It was Frederick Douglass. Children are being robbed like that. But he said to America, lastly, and I say to America, here we are, and here we are likely to be. To imagine that we shall be eradicated is absurd and ridiculous. We can be changed, we can be modified, or even assimilated, but never extinguished. I therefore repeat that we are here, that this is our country too. We shall neither die out, nor shall we be driven away, but we shall go with this people, either as a testimony against them or as an evidence in their favor throughout their generation. Thank you.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, the walking encyclopedia of African American history, Professor Mahmoud El-Khatib. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for your patience. Thank you for your contribution to this evening's meeting. You are now dismissed. Thank you very much.